Hello, and a very warm welcome to another session of facility planning. The topic that we are discussing today is designing of housekeeping department. My name is Chavi Sahai, and I work as an assistant professor at AISSMS College of Hotel Management and Catering Technology. The learning session objective of today's session are to learn about the importance of designing housekeeping department and to know the various aspects that are a part of the housekeeping department and various factors that need to be considered while designing the housekeeping department. So, the factors that we need to consider while designing the housekeeping department are first, to the layout of the housekeeping department is, what do we mean by that? The layout means the physical demarcation or the space that we are going to be allocating the housekeeping department, because we are studying this under the facility planning subject. So we are talking about a stage when the hotel is not yet constructed. We are still in the planning stage and we are deciding where the housekeeping department would be. So what are the things that we need to keep in mind? How much space should be allocated, and where we should have the laundry, linen, and various parts of the housekeeping department. All that is getting decided at this stage. So physical demarcation of the department is the layout. When the layout is well planned, like because we are at the planning stage, it enables smooth functioning of the department. Later on, when the hotel is operational, if it's a 200, 300 room property, so likewise we'll have a lot of functions that will run through the housekeeping, and all that will work very well only if we plan it very well at this stage. Usually, the designing of housekeeping department's layout is dependent on the size of the hotel, as well as whatever the physical space restriction may be. Okay, maybe you want to have a area of, maybe 1,000, 2,000 square feet, or maybe more for a particular space, but the physical space is not available that much. So you will have to make do with what is available. Normally, the layout is decided by the executive housekeeper at the facility planning stage when we are setting up the hotel. So, these are the factors that are taken into consideration when you are deciding about the area of housekeeping department and the layout. So, first would be the total number of guest rooms, which is the most important thing. Okay, because if it's a smaller property, say 50 to 60, 75 rooms, then you do not need a very huge housekeeping department as such. The linen requirement, the uniform requirement of the staff will be much, much less. So the total number of the guest rooms decide the demarcation or the requirement of the housekeeping department. The number of function rooms, or as we say, the banquet halls that are going to be there in the hotel. Okay, because still we are at the planning stage, please remember that. And the number of food and beverage outlets like bars, your restaurants, the coffee shop, how many of them are going to be there, because they also need linen on a regular basis. So do you have the laundry space to manage that? You will have to plan about the linen room requirement accordingly. Okay, so all these things will again now help you decide about the amount of manpower which will be required specifically in the housekeeping department as well as in the entire hotel. Because if you get to know the number of guest rooms, the number of banquet halls, F&B outlets, you can give a rough estimate or probably an accurate estimate of the number of staffs that will be employed. So you can plan about the uniforms for the entire staff. Next, the volume of business that you anticipate in this property, depending on the location. If it's a commercial hotel, it is in the downtown part of the city, so you expect it to do a very frequently it is going to be busy, it is going to be have maximum occupancy most of the time, so the various requirements will change. But if it's a resort hotel, it is located somewhere very remote, okay, and though it might still be busy, but the pace of check in and check out would be probably slower, because at the places where people go for vacation purpose, it's not that immediately every day you will have 50 check-ins, 50 checkouts happening at a regular interval. Whereas in a business hotel, things are different. So we have to plan all that in advance. Number of jobs that the hotel will contract out. Things like pest control, maintenance, engineering, various things are they contracted, glass cleaning of the facade, all that, whether it's contracted out to people or the hotel staff is going to be doing that. Because all that again changes your dimension of your uniform requirement and certain other things. So all that also matters a lot. Next most important things is the flow of traffic. Like when you're planning the housekeeping department, you need to know where the laundry would be located. You, if you have the power, you can probably decide where are you going to have the linen room, to make sure that we have the ease of flow of traffic between all these areas towards the service elevator, which will again connect to the guest floors. So you need to plan all that if there is a possibility. So all these factors you have to consider when we are planning the housekeeping department. So moving ahead, the following areas constitute to the layout of housekeeping department. What are the various areas that come under housekeeping department? See, all of you must be aware of all these areas. We'll just quickly list them down. First is the executive housekeeper's cabin, EHK's cabin, which is usually located in the housekeeping department. It will have a accompanying secretary's cabin. Here, I would like to say one thing, that we are not discussing the type of rooms, the number of guest rooms, etc., here in the housekeeping department, because we are just specifically talking about the layout of housekeeping functioning as such. Okay, all the various back of the house areas that come under housekeeping. Also, the location is generally the basement of the hotel. Usually in the hotels, the housekeeping department is located in the basement. Firstly, because it is usually next to the laundry, because a lot of noise is created by the laundry. So we make sure that it is located in the basement, unless due to some other reasons, it is done differently. Next, the part of the various areas under housekeeping would be one of the most important, that is the desk or the housekeeping desk control room, where all the calls come and go, which is kind of a nerve center of housekeeping, which will also have a lost and found section wherein we store all the guests' valuables and perishables are thrown away, various things like that, which we cover in under lost and found will be there. Then the housekeeping stores is also a part of housekeeping layout, because you need to make sure that the store is aptly located so that no pilferage and things like that can be minimized, and you can monitor the stock as well very properly. Then a florist's room, if we have an in-house florist, will become a part of housekeeping department's layout. And also if you have an outsourced florist, but he has a shop set up in your premises, then you need to give them a space which is probably air conditioned, because the flowers wilt. So we need to have all these things in mind at the planning stage. Most important and one of the most expensive thing that the housekeeping handles is the linen. So the linen and uniform room, the planning of that also has to be considered when we are planning the housekeeping department. Next is the linen store, which will have all your fresh linen, which you keep as a stock for your future use. Sewing room, a tailor who's appointed in the uniform room. Then the floor pantry. The pantry that is there on the guest floors also comes under housekeeping. So the layout of it, the planning of it also gets covered in housekeeping. Next, we come to the typical layout of a housekeeping department. Uh, this may change depending on any other hotel. This is just a representative setup. Here you can see all the areas that we listed are here. There's an executive EHK's office at the leftmost corner. Then we have the housekeeping control room just next to it. And in between, if there's some space, there's usually a desk for a secretary. Then housekeeping store, upholstery and furniture room where any repairs, etc. would take place. A flower room, which will be a florist space. Then next to that, just in front of that, is the laundry. And usually the linen in uniform room is next to the laundry always, so that the flow of traffic is easy. Then we have a uniform exchange counter where the employees comes and they exchange their uniform. A tailor shop, person who will be mending the uniforms or altering the uniforms if there's a need. And lastly, we have a linen store. So this is a general representative of the housekeeping department layout. It may change in other hotels. This is again a typical layout of a housekeeping pantry. Again, just a representative. So these are the various areas that we need to plan for in the housekeeping pantry. We should have various racks to store the cleaning agents, space to keep the equipment, keep the trolley, and we should have a linen chute. We need to do that in the planning stage itself so that the linen circulation, you can keep it going and you can throw the dirty linen from the floor itself. So all this is a typical pantry layout. Moving ahead, we'll come to the factors that we need to consider when we are designing the linen room and uniform room, one of the most important areas in the housekeeping. Firstly, you have to make sure it is located in a space where there is easy flow of linen from the laundry. It is near the service lift and away from all the food production areas, because linen has a tendency to absorb various smells. And if you use that kind of linen up on the floors, it will not be very pleasant for the guest experience. Then you have to have ample space to store various things that we keep in the linen room. The entrance of the linen room has to be broad enough so that the trolleys that you are going to be procuring are easily navigated in the linen room between the laundry towards the service elevator, etc. Then we have to make sure that there is enough lighting and ventilation in the linen room, because generally the space is very hot and humid because it is next to the laundry, so that linen is always maintained properly at a crisp feel. All that we have to ensure. Next, linen room should have enough storage so that all the linen that is being washed, we are able to stack and store it properly, and the linen can be sent up on the floors depending on the occupancy, depending on how many rooms we have, and various things. And we should have a properly demarcated area for the soiled linen collection. Then we need to have a linen exchange counter between the laundry and the linen room, so that what number of linen item we sent and how many have we received, we can keep a track of that. Also, linen room should have an inspection area where you can inspect any linen for stains, damages, etc. Linen room should have ample space for uniform storage. If the hotel is too big, then you'll have lots of staff, so you should have enough space for uniform storage. Also, if the guest laundry is washed in the laundry and is being sorted, etc., in the linen room, then a space for the guest laundry area also should be there. Next, we come to a typical layout of a linen room. Again, it's just a representative. So if you can see, we start from the counter, then there are counters for exchange, then there's a linen keeper's desk, somebody who will be responsible for the linen room entirely. Then there's one way going towards the laundry. Various trolleys are there to store the soil linen, to collect the soil linen. And then there are various racks to store different articles of linen, that is sheets and pillowcases, towels, linen item which are rarely used. It can be spare cushions, it can be spare curtains, things like that, spare bed covers. Then any condemned or the discarded linen will be on one side. Then blankets and bedspreads, if we have in the hotel as an extra, will be a part of the linen room. So with this, we come to the end of this session. I would like to thank you all for listening in. Please follow the link that I have given in the description box and attempt the quiz on this topic of layout of housekeeping department. I would also like to give credit to the following sites from where I have sourced some material for my presentation. Thank you everyone once again.